Hey everyone, welcome back to Heart Scrolls, your home for stories that move your heart and inspire your soul. Tonight, we're diving into one of the most powerful and emotional journeys of our time, the true story of Elon Musk. From a bullied boy in South Africa to the man reaching for Mars, this isn't just a story about success, it's about never giving up, no matter how impossible your dreams seem. You'll see how pain turned into purpose, how failures built the foundation of greatness, and how one man's vision changed the future of our planet and maybe even the next one. So grab your headphones, take a deep breath, and let this story remind you that the stars are not out of reach. If you love stories that inspire hope, courage, and belief in your dreams, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, because what you're about to hear might just change how you see your own life. Let's begin. It all began in Pretoria, South Africa in the early 1980s, a quiet neighborhood filled with dusty streets, tall trees, and the laughter of children echoing through summer afternoons. But in one small corner of a modest house, a little boy named Elon Musk was lost in another world, the world of ideas. While most kids his age were chasing soccer balls and climbing trees, Elon sat by his window with a book in hand, reading about galaxies, machines, and faraway planets. He wasn't interested in cartoons or games like others. Instead, he was fascinated by the mysteries of space, the silence of the stars, the endless darkness, and the idea that maybe, just maybe, humans could one day live beyond Earth. He was shy, often quiet, and sometimes misunderstood. Teachers said he was too curious, always asking why things happened instead of just accepting them. At home, he spent hours alone, taking apart gadgets just to see how they worked. Radios, computers, even broken electric toys. Nothing in the house was safe from his tiny screwdriver. His mother, Maya Musk, a strong and hard-working woman, often smiled as she watched him work. She knew there was something different about her son, a spark that couldn't be hidden. His father, Elon Musk, an engineer, provided him with technical books and parts to build with. Their marriage was far from perfect, but Elon absorbed every bit of knowledge he could from both of them. As the years passed, that curiosity only grew stronger. While other kids dreamed of becoming firefighters or athletes, Elon dreamed of reaching the stars. He didn't just want to look at the sky, he wanted to touch it. At age 10, everything changed when he discovered computers. Back then, they were rare and expensive, but Elon was mesmerized. He spent nights teaching himself how to program using manuals and simple guides. There was no internet, no YouTube, no tutorials, only his hunger to learn. Then at age 12, he created something extraordinary, a simple video game called Blaster. It wasn't fancy by modern standards, just a small spaceship shooting aliens. But for a boy who learned coding on his own, it was a masterpiece. When he sold it to a computer magazine for $500, it wasn't just money, it was proof that his imagination had real value. That tiny achievement became his first stepping stone. But success didn't bring him peace. School was still a battlefield for Elon. He was different, too quiet, too smart, too strange for other kids to understand. Some of them made fun of him, others went further. There was a time when he was beaten so badly by a group of bullies that he lost consciousness. His face was swollen, his body bruised, and he spent a week recovering in the hospital. For most kids, that kind of trauma might have broken their spirit. But Elon did something different. He turned pain into power. He found comfort in stories of heroes, inventors, and scientists, people who also faced rejection before changing the world. He devoured books by Isaac Asimov, Nikola Tesla, and Albert Einstein, filling his mind with the belief that knowledge could build bridges where strength could not. Every night after finishing his homework, he would go outside, look up at the clear South African sky, and stare at the stars. The Milky Way stretched across the horizon like a river of light. He would close his eyes and whisper, "One day I'll go there." Those weren't just words, they were a promise. Elon wasn't dreaming about fame or fortune. He was dreaming about a better future for humanity, one where we could live beyond Earth, free from limits. That vision would later shape everything he did in life. His parents eventually divorced, and the loneliness grew. He often felt invisible at home and isolated at school. But in his solitude, he built an inner world, full of rockets, robots, and futuristic cities. While others saw only problems, Elon saw possibilities. He believed that every challenge could be solved if you were willing to look deep enough and never stop asking questions. Sometimes his classmates would laugh when he spoke about space travel or colonizing Mars. "That's impossible," they'd say. But Elon just smiled. He had learned something powerful, that the word impossible is only used by those who've stopped trying. As the years passed, that small boy with glasses and wild imagination started to see himself differently. He wasn't just a dreamer, he was a builder. And builders never give up, no matter how rough the world gets. At night, he'd sit by his computer typing away while the rest of the world slept. The hum of the machine and the faint sound of crickets outside became his lullaby. Every line of code, every experiment, every late-night thought, it was all leading him somewhere, though he didn't yet know where. When people asked him what he wanted to be when he grew up, his answer was simple but strange. "I want to make things that change the world." Nobody could have guessed then that this quiet boy from Pretoria would one day send rockets into space, build electric cars, and push humanity toward the stars. But that journey didn't start in a factory or a laboratory. It started right there, in a small room with a boy staring at the night sky, believing that his dreams were bigger than his fears. If you've ever felt different, lonely, or misunderstood, remember Elon's story. Every great dream begins with someone who dares to think beyond the sky. And if you believe in chasing dreams that others call impossible, don't forget to like and subscribe, because this story is just getting started. When Elon Musk turned 17, he made a decision that would change his life forever. He was living in South Africa, surrounded by a system that felt too small for his dreams, a place where the sky was vast but the opportunities were limited. Elon had spent his childhood dreaming about rockets, stars, and human progress, and now, as a teenager, he realized something vital. If he wanted to change the world, he had to go where the future was being built. That place, in his mind, was America. But getting there wasn't simple. He didn't have wealth, connections, or a clear plan. What he did have was courage, that quiet kind of courage that comes from believing you're meant for something bigger. In 1989, he packed 2 small bags and boarded a flight to Canada, the first step in his long road to the United States. He had a Canadian passport through his mother, which made the move possible, but life there was far from easy. He had no home waiting, no family nearby, no job lined up. When his plane landed, he was just another unknown face in a new country. With $0 in his pocket and a dream too big to measure, Elon took any work he could find. He cleaned boilers in a lumber mill, a job so dirty and hot that most workers quit after a few days. The heat burned his skin and the air was thick with dust and oil, but he stayed. He also chopped wood, shoveled dirt, and once even worked at a farm lifting heavy sacks under the summer sun. He slept in rented rooms so small he could touch both walls by stretching his arms. Sometimes he skipped meals to save money, but none of that broke him. If anything, those days gave him strength, the kind that only comes from fighting through discomfort and still believing the future will be better. At night, he'd sit alone, exhausted, staring out the window at the cold Canadian sky. The stars looked distant, but to him they were a reminder that he was one step closer to his goal. After months of hard work, Elon finally saved enough to attend Queen's University in Ontario. It was there he began to see a glimpse of what he had always wanted, a world of open ideas, new technology, and people who dreamed big. But Elon knew this was still not the end of his journey. His eyes were set on the United States, the land where innovation and imagination collided to shape the future. In 1992, he transferred to the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. There, he studied physics and economics, two subjects that defined how the world worked, one explaining the universe, the other explaining people. But it wasn't just the classes that inspired him. It was the energy around him, young minds, late-night debates, and endless talk of startups, inventions, and change. Elon shared small apartments with other students, often sleeping on the couch because he didn't have a bed of his own. To earn money, he and his roommate rented out their place for college parties, charging people at the door. It was clever, practical, and a small taste of entrepreneurship. But beneath those early hustles, Elon was constantly thinking about electric cars, clean energy, and space exploration. He would stay up all night reading books and research papers, filling his notebooks with sketches of rockets and future cities. He wasn't driven by money. He was driven by a question: how can I help humanity survive and grow beyond this planet? During his time at the university, Elon began to see patterns. The people who changed the world weren't necessarily the smartest. They were the ones who refused to stop trying. They built things that didn't exist before, and they faced doubt with determination. That realization became the core of his philosophy. Years later, he summed it up in one sentence: when something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor. When Elon graduated, he faced a decision. Most of his classmates were heading towards safe jobs, Wall Street, consulting firms, or big tech companies. They wanted comfort, stability, a predictable life. But Elon wanted adventure. He didn't want to wait for the perfect moment. He wanted to create it. So he packed his bags again and moved to California, right into the heart of Silicon Valley, the birthplace of innovation. The timing was perfect. The internet was growing and the digital revolution had just begun. Elon could feel the energy of a new era rising, and he wanted to be part of it. With his brother, Kimball Musk, Elon started Zip2, a small software company that provided online maps and business directories for newspapers. It was one of the first services to help people find local businesses online. A simple idea today, but groundbreaking in the 1990s. At the start, the Musk brothers slept in their small office and showered at the local YMCA. They couldn't afford rent and business space at the same time. They worked day and night, eating cheap fast food and writing code until dawn. Elon often fell asleep under his desk, waking up to continue from where he left off. For years, they faced rejection after rejection. Most newspapers didn't understand the internet yet, and investors thought their idea was too risky. But Elon kept pushing. He knocked on doors, pitched to skeptical businessmen, and refused to give up. Eventually, they landed their first major deal with the New York Times and other newspapers. The business began to grow, and in 1999, Compaq bought Zip2 for $307 million. Elon's share was about $22 million. He was just 27 years old and a millionaire. But something inside him didn't change. He didn't rush to buy luxury cars or mansions. Instead, he asked himself a simple question: what's next? For Elon, money wasn't the goal. Impact was. He didn't dream of being rich. He dreamed of being useful, of building things that mattered. While others would have celebrated, he was already planning his next move. Ideas that would soon become PayPal, SpaceX, and Tesla. His journey from a scared teenager cleaning boilers in Canada to a young millionaire in California wasn't just about luck or timing. It was about believing in something before anyone else did. Elon's life reminds us that success is not a straight road. It's built on long nights, low moments, and silent battles that nobody sees. It's about working when no one's watching, believing when no one supports you, and holding on to your dream when it feels too heavy to carry. And maybe that's the real secret to his journey. He never waited for the world to give him permission to dream. He just started walking toward it one small step at a time. Now tell us in the comments, If your dream suddenly came true, would you stop there, or would you keep building something even greater? After the sale of Zip2, Elon Musk suddenly found himself with $22 million in his bank account, more money than he had ever imagined having. But instead of taking a long vacation or buying luxury mansions, Elon did something completely different. He started thinking about the future again. It was the late 1990s. The internet was exploding with new ideas, yet many people still didn't trust it. They used it for reading the news or sending emails, but not for anything related to money. The idea of sending or receiving payments online felt dangerous and unrealistic. But Elon, as always, saw something others didn't. He believed that money was just information, and if the internet could transfer information instantly, then it could also transfer money safely. That belief became the seed for his next company, X.com, founded in 1999. X.com was a revolutionary concept, an online bank that allowed people to send and receive money through email. To most people, that sounded insane. Banks were made of marble floors and vaults, not computer code and websites. Elon's idea scared traditional bankers and excited a few daring investors. He poured $12 million of his own money into the startup, believing that digital finance would become the backbone of the modern economy. His vision was simple but bold: to make banking so easy that anyone, anywhere, could move money with a single click. But just as X.com began to grow, Elon faced his first real storm in the tech world. The company was chaotic. Competitors were emerging fast, and not everyone believed in his leadership style. Elon pushed hard, demanded perfection, and expected everyone around him to move at his pace, which was faster than most could handle. Soon after launching, X.com merged with Confinity, another startup founded by Peter Thiel and Max Levchin. Confinity had built a small service called PayPal, which let users send money through email, very similar to what Elon wanted. The merger was supposed to be perfect. Two brilliant teams, one shared dream. But instead of harmony, conflict began. Both sides had strong opinions on technology, branding, and direction. Elon wanted to use Microsoft systems, while the Confinity team preferred Unix. He wanted X.com to be the face of the company, but many believed PayPal was a better name. Amid the arguments, Elon kept traveling to promote the company and secure funding. In 2000, during one of his business trips, a short vacation with his wife Justine, the board made a shocking move. While Elon was away, he was voted out as CEO. The company he founded, the dream he built from scratch, had been taken away from him without warning. When he landed back in the US, he was no longer in charge. It was one of the hardest moments of his life. For the first time, Elon experienced what it meant to lose control of his own vision. All the work, the nights without sleep, the sacrifices, it seemed like they had been for nothing. But Elon didn't fall apart. He didn't fight publicly, didn't seek revenge, and didn't quit the company. He chose something harder: to stay and keep working. He believed in the product more than his position. He knew that PayPal had the power to change the world of money forever. In the following months, PayPal began to grow rapidly. Millions of people started using it on eBay to pay for items safely. It became the trusted face of online payments. Within 2 years, PayPal went from being a small startup to a global phenomenon. And in 2002, the impossible happened. eBay bought PayPal for $1.5 billion in stock. Elon was the largest individual shareholder, owning about 11% of the company. His share was worth around $180 million. He was 31 years old. For most people, that would have been the happy ending: early retirement, fancy cars, a peaceful life by the beach. But Elon wasn't most people. He didn't start companies for comfort. He started them to solve problems that mattered. So when reporters asked him what he planned to do with his fortune, Elon smiled and said something unexpected. "I'm going to put it all into my next companies, SpaceX, Tesla, and SolarCity." People laughed. They called him reckless. Why risk everything after finally achieving success? But Elon had already seen what comfort could do. It made people stop dreaming, and he wasn't ready to stop. He split his fortune across 3 ambitious projects that almost everyone thought would fail. SpaceX, to make space travel cheaper and eventually send humans to Mars. Tesla, to build electric cars that could replace gasoline vehicles. Solar City, to create affordable, clean energy for homes and businesses. Each of these ideas sounded impossible at the time. SpaceX, too expensive. Tesla, electric cars were considered boring and weak. Solar City, too early for the market. But Elon believed that if nobody else would take the risk, he would. He invested everything, literally. He once admitted that he had to borrow money to pay rent. Imagine that a man who had just made $180 million was borrowing to survive because he refused to give up on his vision. Years later, reflecting on his journey, Elon said something deeply human. My biggest mistake is probably weighing too much on someone's talent and not someone's personality. I think it matters whether someone has a good heart. That quote came from hard-earned wisdom. Through success and betrayal, Elon learned that innovation isn't just about intelligence or ideas. It's about character, teamwork, and resilience. The fall from X.com taught him humility. The rise of PayPal taught him patience. And losing control of something he built taught him that true strength doesn't come from titles, it comes from purpose. Because even though they took his company, they could never take his vision. In the end, the same man who once slept on office floors now stood ready to change the world again. This time not with a website but with rockets, cars, and the power of the sun. And just like that, the story of PayPal, a tale of betrayal, success, and rebirth, became the foundation of everything Elon Musk would build afterward. From the ashes of one dream, 3 new dreams were born, and this time, nothing would stop him. Tell us in the comments, if you lost everything you built, would you have the courage to start again from zero like Elon did? By the time Elon Musk founded SpaceX and Tesla, he had already proven himself as a visionary. But what he was about to face next would test not only his genius, but his soul. The dream was simple to say, but impossible to do. Build rockets cheaper than governments, build cars cleaner than gasoline. Change the way the world moves, on Earth and beyond it. The year was 2002 when SpaceX was born. Elon started it not as a billionaire chasing glory, but as a man trying to make life multiplanetary. He believed humanity should not stay confined to one planet waiting for disaster. If the dinosaurs had a space program, he said once, they'd still be alive. But belief alone doesn't lift rockets. His first rocket, Falcon 1, failed. It exploded in mid-air, millions of dollars gone in seconds. The second rocket failed too. And the third one, the one everyone thought would succeed, also exploded before reaching orbit. Each failure wasn't just a technical loss, it was emotional devastation. Employees cried, investors pulled out, newspapers called SpaceX a fool's dream. At the same time, Tesla, his electric car company, was also falling apart. Its early production was slow, the cars were expensive. Critics mocked it as a rich man's toy. By 2008, the world's economy collapsed, and so did Elon's finances. He had invested everything he owned, about $180 million, into his companies. He had no money left for food or rent. He borrowed from friends just to survive. Most people would have stopped. Most people would have said, I've done enough. But Elon didn't stop. He said something unforgettable that year. If something is important enough, even if the odds are against you, you should still do it. He didn't choose one company, he chose both. He divided his last remaining funds between Tesla and SpaceX. If both failed, he would lose everything. But if even one survived, humanity might win. Then came September 28, 2008, the launch of Falcon 1 Flight 4. The entire SpaceX team gathered in silence, watching the rocket climb into the blue sky. This time, it didn't explode. It soared perfectly into orbit. Cheers erupted. People hugged and cried. Elon couldn't speak. His eyes filled with tears. After 3 painful failures, the 4th flight succeeded. Just days later, a miracle followed. NASA awarded SpaceX a $1.6 billion contract to deliver cargo to the International Space Station. That single contract saved the company and changed the history of private space travel forever. Meanwhile, Tesla got a surprise rescue too. A group of investors, including Daimler, believed in Elon's vision and funded Tesla just enough to keep it alive. Suddenly, both his dreams, rockets and cars, were breathing again. But recovery didn't mean comfort. Elon still worked 100-hour weeks, sleeping in factories and offices. He pushed his team harder than ever, but also inspired them with one mission. We are not just building cars or rockets, we are building the future. In the coming years, SpaceX would launch reusable rockets, something the world thought impossible. And Tesla would create the Model S, Model 3 and Model X, changing how the world saw electric vehicles forever. Every success was built on a foundation of sleepless nights, broken failures, and unshakable faith. Elon once said that entrepreneurship is like chewing glass while staring into the abyss. And that's exactly what he lived through. Even when the world laughed at him, when he was called a reckless dreamer, a gambler, or even crazy, Elon smiled because he knew something they didn't. Failure is just data until success happens. And that success did happen. Today, rockets land on their own. Cars drive themselves. And the world knows that the man who once had to borrow rent money now builds the ships to Mars. What about you? Have you ever been so close to giving up, yet decided to try one more time? Tell your story in the comments. Maybe someone out there needs to hear your version of hope. Today, Elon Musk stands as one of the most recognized names on Earth, a symbol of invention, courage, and relentless belief in the impossible. He is the founder of SpaceX, CEO of Tesla, and owner of X, formerly Twitter. His fingerprints are on some of the greatest technological revolutions of our time. But to truly understand Elon Musk, you have to look beyond the headlines, beyond the rockets, the cars, and the billions. You have to go back to that young boy in Pretoria, South Africa, who spent nights staring at the stars and whispering, "One day I'll go there." Because deep down, that boy never disappeared. He just grew older, braver, and louder. When people look at Elon now, they see success. Sleek Tesla cars, gliding down highways, reusable rockets landing softly on ocean barges, satellites forming constellations in the sky. But behind every success lies countless moments of doubt, loneliness, and exhaustion. In interviews, Elon has often admitted that fear and pressure never truly go away. "I feel fear all the time," he once said, "but I let the fear drive me instead of stop me." Even after SpaceX became a global leader and Tesla became a household name, Elon didn't stop. He moved on to new frontiers. Neuralink, exploring how to connect the human brain with computers. The Boring Company, digging tunnels to solve traffic congestion. Starlink, bringing internet to even the most remote corners of the planet. X, his reimagined version of Twitter, transforming it into what he calls the Everything app. Each project began as a crazy idea, one that most people laughed at. But Elon has never cared much about what most people say. His mission was never to please the world, it was to change it. Still, even visionaries have limits. Elon's life is far from perfect. He has made mistakes, faced criticism, and endured mental and emotional strain. People have called him arrogant, reckless, or even unstable. But he doesn't hide from the storms. He walks straight into them because he knows that comfort never created history. Every failure he faced, every rocket that exploded, every company that nearly collapsed became a stepping stone towards something extraordinary. His resilience became a message to millions around the world. The biggest risk is not taking any risk at all. That message has inspired a generation of dreamers, kids building robots in garages, engineers designing cleaner technologies, and young entrepreneurs daring to think bigger than their circumstances. Elon's story reminds us that greatness doesn't begin with wealth or fame. It begins with a vision. A single spark in the mind of someone who refuses to give up. It begins with one person who looks at the stars and thinks, why not? From a bullied schoolboy in South Africa to sleeping in offices during the early days of Zip 2 to risking everything on rockets that the world mocked, Elon Musk turned pain into purpose. He taught the world that you don't need permission to dream big, only the courage to keep trying. Now, as SpaceX prepares to take humans to Mars and Tesla continues to lead the world toward a sustainable future, Elon stands as living proof that failure isn't the opposite of success, it's a part of it. He once said, when something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor. And perhaps that's the real secret to his success. Not genius, not luck, but faith in the future even when no one else can see it. As we look up at the night sky, filled with thousands of Starlink satellites, silent lights gliding through the darkness, it almost feels poetic. Each one of those lights represents a dream once called impossible, and somewhere in those glowing trails across the stars lives the same boy who never stopped looking up. From being bullied in a schoolyard to building pathways to other planets, Elon Musk's journey proves that no dream is too big and no failure is final. So next time you feel like giving up, remember this story. And remember that the stars aren't as far away as they seem. If Elon's journey inspired you, don't forget to share this story with someone who needs hope today. Because the sky is not the limit, it's just the beginning.